Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Cryptids and Monsters video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another entry here. This one yet again based on one of your new suggestions. This one having to do with yet another cryptid that involves a mishmash of various animals in one, both real life animals and potentially also some brand new ones. This is a creature that is found there in Europe, various parts of Europe to be specific, and has been seen for hundreds of years. The interesting thing is that there's no 100% universal concrete way that this creature has been seen. It's been seen in so many different interpretations. There may in fact actually be several versions of it altogether. So who knows? Maybe there's a set of subspecies associated with this cryptid. But you're looking at a representation of it now. It goes by various names as well. The most common name, though, is the Tatzelwurm. So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating info associated with this potentially, marvelous creature, the way it looks like, but also very dangerous at the same time. More on that in a minute. So here's essentially the info. What is this Tatzelwurm? Well, again, it's a cryptid that's found there in Europe, many parts of Europe. Just to at least mention some up front, you can find it there in Germany, you can find it in Austria, you can find it in Italy. You can also find it in the Alps. You can find it in Switzerland as well, and so on. I was even reading a couple of other countries that have this creature, but they're lesser known sightings. And again, it's been around for a good number of years, several centuries at least. Very first reported sighting was back in 1779, but it doesn't mean that that's the first encounter ever. There may have actually been even more so, dating back more than several hundred years. But let's just talk about its physical characteristics, which is kind of hard to nail down because again of so many versions of it, but I'll try to highlight at least the concrete stuff. But yes, this is a creature that can range from being just a tiny amount, like let's say a foot or two tall or in length, to being about 5 or 7 feet in length and maybe even longer. It mostly resembles what people describe as a small Asian dragon or a serpentine-like reptile, or maybe even an amphibian-like reptile. And the key thing is it's a mishmash of a lizard and a snake, meaning it has the scaly, almost slimy, slithery, look of a snake, but it also has the paws of a lizard. And then on top of that, it ends its body with having one long tail. And so this tail, instead of having, let's say, 2 traditional feet, the tail in of itself makes up the end of the body. It doesn't have hind legs, in other words. But by far the most curious thing about it is the fact that it's been reported as being seen with a cat-like face. How about that? This is a creature that apparently has that beautiful cat-like face that cats normally have, but it has these eyes that when people look at it, it's almost considered mesmerizing, like people just lock in those eyes and they're not able to look away. This may actually give this creature an advantage when it comes to its dangerousness because it has been known to attack people. The idea I got though is that it's mainly out of defense. Like it doesn't really seem to be out there necessarily hunting people, but at the same time, anybody that comes across it or creates danger for it, then it absolutely will turn the tables on those humans. This is because it is venomous. It apparently has a bite that is very dangerous. One bite and that's it. You're done. Apparently it kills people with one single bite. Imagine that. You're out there and somewhere in Europe and then you happen to come across this Tatzelwurm and you'll be unlucky enough to be bitten. You might as well, start saying your prayers because you're going to meet your maker soon. Not only that, but it also breathes poisonous fumes. And then how about this? Straight from the movie Alien, it also potentially has acidic blood. So there you are trying to rescue yourself and you happen to have a knife or some other type of sharp object. You go in for the kill shot, and then lo and behold, this thing spurts acid right on you, and then that could also definitely harm you. So how about that? Definitely a very dangerous creature, one that has expert hunting skills. People have come across it all of a sudden, not realizing that this creature was right there despite its great length. Goes to show that it has amazing camouflage abilities, and then there it is, either harming people, jumping in front of people, attacking people, anything along those lines. That all makes for a potential very deadly encounter. In fact, let's talk about the very first experience, and it claimed a life altogether. This was again back in 1779. That's when a man by the name of Hans Fuchs ran into this Tatzelwurm. It suddenly just appeared in front of him. Such a sight, seeing the serpent-like body, seeing the lizard-like limbs, seeing that very long tail, and then of course the cat-like face with those mesmerizing eyes. It so frightened Hans that he suffered a very bad heart attack, but this turned out to be a fatal one. He didn't instantly die there, but the heart attack definitely did its damage. He was able to at least go back to his home and then go back to his family. When they were asking him what was going on, what was harming him, that's when he described this creature in full detail. And that's when he passed away afterward. But at least he gave that description, and then that's where the legend of the Tatzelwurm first came from. And then there were others who apparently found a Tatzelwurm. There was a guy, a peasant, who found one of them just dead right there on the spot. And so he decided to take it home. But alas, either it was a very long trip or the body just couldn't be covered. Crows started to eat this creature, and so by the time he reached home, more than half of the creature was gone. But still, it was a great way to showcase others about this Tatzelwurm being real. And yet there's even other encounters associated with it. Some of them, though, are considered almost fake. Like, it's almost like once people realized how fantastical this was, maybe they could try to make some money off of it or something else, or gain some popularity. There was a photographer by the name of Balkan who photographed this Tatzelwurm back in 1954. However, when he did so, it was very hard, I guess, to view the photograph or inspect it. Either way, though, today it's considered almost certainly a hoax. Same thing with someone else who mysteriously gave up a Tatzelwurm skeleton. It was donated to the Geneva Institute of Science in the early 1900s, but only one single photograph was ever taken of that skeleton. Red flags, right, when it comes to that, because you're wondering why couldn't the skeleton itself be inspected. But either way, no one knows what happened to the skeleton, and again, it's considered to be a hoax. But many other encounters still. In fact, there was one that happened with a young girl who happened to be farming there on her Swiss farm. All of a sudden, she was suddenly caught by one of these Tatzelwurms right there in the farm itself. Like, in other words, it was just in front of her. And then that's when this thing attacked her. She also described it with the telltale signs of some of the other classic Tatzelwurms, including the cat-like face and then also the front legs and so on. But yes, she went away, running away, but she was also stating information about those bright eyes and how they were very, very mesmerizing to look at. The way she described it was they were intense to meet. But yeah, other descriptions associated with this creature apparently being able to leap 9 feet in the air. That was from a witness there in Austria. Another one stated they must have seen a smaller version of it, or maybe even just a junior version, like let's say a Tatzelwurm that's just in its infancy, because this one was about 2 to 3 feet long, and this was discovered also in Austria there in 1921. And then there were more other encounters involving this creature, including in the 1960s. Somebody had taken a photograph of this creature, and then it was given to the Geneva newspaper, but once again, it was mainly considered more on the lines of a hoax, and then it just continues. I've even saw information about encounters there in 2000, late 2000s, like in this case 2009 and so on, and that's the fact that this creature is still, this one in Italy, being discovered there as another variation of it. And then as far as what this creature could be, it could again just be its brand new, its own version of a cryptid, or it could be misinterpreted as a very rare version of a salamander, maybe one that just hasn't been discovered much, in other words, as of yet, but it could still be a real animal. Whatever the salamander is, it's just confused as a tatzelwurm just because of how rare it is altogether. And then other versions is that it could be another one of a Gila monster, and then other types of lizards out there. It just goes to show that there's so much range that this creature has when it comes to its appearance and versions of it. It just fits so many different categories that it's hard again to pinpoint on what it exactly could be. Could be its own version of a brand new cryptid. It could be another animal just brand new to the world. Who knows? But at least that's everything associated with this Tatzelwurm. But if anybody has any more info, anything else I might have missed, then please post those comments below. Again, good advisory. If you do happen to be in those areas, you do see a Tatzelwurm, stay as far away as you can. Admire it from afar. It definitely seems to have some beautiful traits associated with it, but you don't want to get close to it, not one bit, because of the deadly combinations that it has. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.